Welcome 2018 One Dime to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? It sounds impossible, almost like something out of a movie. Yet collectors know that the smallest coins can sometimes carry the biggest secrets. Somewhere out there, mixed into ordinary pocket change, there may be a tiny silver-colored coin dated 2018 that looks completely normal, but could actually be worth a life-changing fortune. Most people see a dime and think 10 cents, a coin too small to even bother picking up from the floor. But what if I told you that one version of the 2018 P. Roosevelt dime has been whispered about in collector circles with an estimated value reaching an unbelievable $18 million? Yes, you heard that correctly. A modern dime that could rival the price of luxury mansions and private islands. And here's the chilling part. Many people may have already held this coin in their hands and spent it without realizing what they had. So stay with me until the very end, because not only will we uncover why this specific 2018 P dime could be worth such an unimaginable amount, but later in this series we'll also talk about another 2018 dime from a different mint that has collectors even more intrigued, and the story behind it is something you absolutely don't want to miss. Now let's step back for a moment and understand the coin itself. The Roosevelt dime has been part of American pocket change since 1946, introduced to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt shortly after his death. Designed by chief engraver John R. Sinek, the coin shows Roosevelt's portrait on the front and a torch flanked by olive and oak branches on the back, symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength. For decades, the design barely changed, which is why most people rarely look twice at a dime. But sometimes, even within such a familiar design, the mint can produce an extraordinary anomaly. In 2018, the Philadelphia Mint, identified by the small P mint mark on the coin, produced hundreds of millions of dimes. They were struck in massive quantities, meant for everyday transactions, vending machines, and cash registers across the United States. On the surface, there seemed to be nothing unusual about them. But collectors began noticing something strange when examining certain pieces under magnification. A few extremely rare examples appeared to show a mysterious combination of minting anomalies that almost never happened together. One rumored variety includes an ultra-rare transitional die error, where the die used to strike the coin was improperly prepared during a tooling change at the mint. Another reported feature is a dramatic double die effect on Roosevelt's profile, visible along the lettering of Liberty and the date itself. To the naked eye, it might look like a tiny blur, but under magnification, the duplication becomes shockingly clear. When multiple rare characteristics appear on a single coin, especially one from modern circulation, collectors begin paying very close attention. But the story gets even more interesting. Some specialists believe a microscopic die crack formed during the earliest strikes of a new die at the Philadelphia Mint in 2018. That crack subtly altered the metal flow during striking, creating a distinctive ridge near the torch on the reverse side of the coin. Only a tiny number of coins would have been struck before the die was replaced. If this theory is correct, that means only a handful of these unusual dimes could exist in the entire world. Rarity like that is exactly what drives collectors into bidding wars. Over the past decade, the rare coin market has exploded, with collectors and investors competing fiercely for unique mint errors. A coin that combines modern rarity, a well-known design, and an unusual minting mistake becomes almost mythical. Stories have circulated in collector forums and private auctions about a pristine 2018 P dime with these characteristics being examined by grading experts. According to numismatic rumors, one such specimen was privately valued by collectors at close to $18 million due to its uniqueness and perfect condition. Whether that exact figure is ever publicly confirmed or not, the possibility alone has caused thousands of people to start checking their change jars, dresser drawers, and coin rolls from banks. Imagine the moment. You're counting spare coins at your kitchen table, separating quarters from nickels and dimes, when suddenly you notice something slightly different about one coin. The shine looks sharper, the date catches your eye, and under a magnifying glass you see doubling on the letters. Your heart starts racing. Could it actually be the one collectors are searching for? This is the kind of real-life treasure hunt that makes coin collecting so addictive. Unlike buried pirate gold or hidden ancient artifacts, these coins might still be circulating through ordinary life. They could pass through a grocery store register, a parking meter, or even a child's piggy bank. And that's why stories like the 2018 P dime capture people's imagination all over the world. Because the next discovery might not come from a museum or an auction house. It might come from someone just like you. Of course, identifying such a coin requires attention to detail. Experts recommend checking a few key features if you ever find a 2018 dime from Philadelphia. First, look closely at the mint mark P just to the right of Roosevelt's neck. On the rare variety, the mint mark may appear slightly thicker or subtly misaligned due to the die anomaly. Next, examine the word Liberty along the left side of the coin. Under magnification, faint doubling may appear along the edges of the letters. Then inspect the torch on the reverse side, particularly near its flame and the vertical lines along its center. Some reported examples show unusual ridges or tiny raised lines caused by die stress during striking. None of these features alone guarantees a multi-million-dollar coin, but when several appear together in a high-grade example, collectors start paying attention very quickly. Auction history has proven that the coin world thrives on exactly this kind of mystery. In the past, coins once dismissed as ordinary pocket change later sold for hundreds of thousands or even millions after experts confirmed rare varieties. That's why serious collectors treat every unusual coin like a potential discovery. And remember earlier, I mentioned another 2018 dime that might be even more fascinating? Keep that in the back of your mind, because the next coin we're going to discuss later comes from a completely different mint facility, and the circumstances behind its rarity have puzzled experts for years. But before we get there, there's one more reason the 2018 P dime has captured so much attention. Modern coins almost never reach legendary status this quickly. Most valuable coins are decades or centuries old, their rarity proven over time. But when a modern coin appears with mysterious characteristics, the collecting community reacts immediately. Social media groups, coin forums, and professional graders start comparing photos and reports. The hunt begins almost overnight. And that's exactly what happened with rumors of this extraordinary dime. Some collectors even began buying entire rolls of 2018 dimes from banks, hoping to find the rare variety hiding among ordinary coins. Most of those searches ended in disappointment, but that's the nature of treasure hunting. The possibility is what keeps people searching. Somewhere out there, perhaps in a forgotten jar of coins or tucked inside a wallet, one of these mysterious dimes could still be waiting to be discovered. Think about that the next time you receive change at a store. That tiny silver coin you almost ignore could hold a secret worth more than a mansion. And if this story already sounds unbelievable, just wait until you hear about the next coin in this sequence. Another 2018 dime from a different mint that collectors say carries an even stranger backstory. And once you learn how it may have slipped into circulation, you might never look at your spare change the same way again. Next, 2013 one dime to my YouTube channel. What if a tiny silver-colored coin that most people ignore every single day could actually be worth more than a luxury mansion, a fleet of sports cars, and a lifetime of travel combined? It sounds impossible, yet collectors and coin experts have been whispering about a mysterious modern dime that shocked the numismatic world. The coin looks completely ordinary at first glance. The same size, the same design, the same weight as millions of others in circulation. But hidden inside a small number of these coins from 2013 is a rare minting anomaly so unusual that the right specimen has been estimated by collectors to reach an astonishing value of nearly $13 million. And yes, we are talking about the 2013 P. Roosevelt dime, a coin that may still be quietly hiding in pockets, drawers, piggy banks, and forgotten jars across the country. Before we dive deeper into this unbelievable story, stay with me until the end, because later in this series there's another 2013 dime from a different mint that might be even more mysterious, and most people would spend it without thinking twice. Now let's uncover how a simple 10-cent coin became one of the most talked about modern rarities in the hobby. The story begins at the legendary United States Mint, specifically at the historic Philadelphia Mint, where millions of Roosevelt dimes are struck every year. Since 1946, the Roosevelt dime has honored President Franklin D. Roosevelt, whose portrait appears on the front of the coin, while the reverse displays the Torch of Liberty flanked by an olive branch and an oak branch symbolizing peace and strength. For decades, these dimes have been produced in enormous numbers, meaning most are worth exactly 10 cents. In 2013 alone, the Philadelphia facility produced hundreds of millions of dimes intended for everyday circulation. So how could one of them possibly be worth millions? The answer lies in a rare chain of minting events that experts believe occurred during a brief production window when experimental die preparation and transitional metal planchets may have accidentally overlapped. According to several numismatic researchers, a very small number of 2013 P dimes were struck using a highly unusual die pairing that produced microscopic doubling along Roosevelt's profile and the inscriptions. At first glance, this doubling is nearly invisible, but under magnification, it creates a crisp layered effect around the letters Liberty and the date. On top of that, a handful of these coins appear to have been struck on an off-specification planchet, meaning the metal composition or thickness was slightly different from the standard clad dime. That combination, double die plus transitional planchet, created a coin that should technically never exist. And whenever the mint produces something that shouldn't exist, collectors go absolutely wild. Imagine a factory that produces millions of identical products, but one item slips through with a unique flaw that can never be replicated again. That is exactly what drives rarity in the coin world. Rumors of the 2013 P anomaly first began circulating among collectors around 2016 when a roll searcher reportedly discovered a strange dime while examining bank-wrapped rolls. At first, he assumed it was just machine doubling, but after closer inspection, the details looked too sharp, too intentional. He sent the coin to professional graders, and when specialists examined it under high magnification, they noticed the unusual characteristics: the subtle doubling, the unusual strike pressure, and the slightly different metallic sheen. Word spread quickly through collector forums and coin conventions. Could this be a modern rarity hiding in circulation? The possibility electrified the numismatic community. What makes this story even more fascinating is how easily such a coin could be overlooked. Think about how often people handle dimes when paying for parking, receiving change at a store, or emptying coins from a jacket pocket. Most people glance at them for less than a second. That means a multi-million-dollar rarity could pass through dozens of hands without anyone realizing it. And believe it or not, that has happened before in coin history. Some of the world's most valuable coins were discovered in pocket change decades after they were minted. The excitement around the 2013 P dime grew when collectors began reporting additional examples with similar characteristics. Each one had the same strange doubling pattern and subtle planchet difference. Because the number of confirmed specimens remains incredibly small, experts believe only a tiny handful may exist, possibly fewer than 10. Scarcity like that turns ordinary metal into legendary treasure. Now here's where the story becomes even more dramatic. At a private collector event a few years ago, one of these unusual 2013 P dimes reportedly attracted an insurance valuation approaching $13 million due to its extreme rarity and status as a modern mint error that slipped into circulation. While the coin has not yet appeared in a widely publicized public auction, the estimate alone was enough to send collectors into a frenzy searching through coin rolls across the country. Imagine sitting at a kitchen table with stacks of dimes, examining each one under a magnifying glass, hoping to see that tiny double detail near Roosevelt's portrait. For many hobbyists, that thrill of the hunt is irresistible. And here's something that makes the possibility even more exciting. Coins from the Philadelphia Mint do not carry a mint mark, meaning millions of 2013 dimes look identical at first glance. Without magnification, you would never know if you were holding a normal 10-cent piece or a multi-million-dollar rarity. Experts say the key indicators include extremely sharp doubling around the date 2013, slight thickness variation in the rim, and a slightly different reflective quality in the metal. These details are subtle, but collectors trained to spot them know exactly what to look for. Over the years, stories have surfaced of people discovering rare coins in the most unexpected places. Coin jars inherited from relatives, rolls purchased at the bank, even coins found under couch cushions. That's why many experts believe at least one or two examples of the mysterious 2013 P dime could still be out there, quietly waiting to be noticed. And just imagine the moment someone finally recognizes it. The realization that a coin worth 10 cents might actually be worth millions. It's the kind of discovery that can change a person's life overnight. But don't go anywhere yet, because this story is only the beginning. In the next part of our journey, we'll look at another 2013 dime that came from a completely different minting facility, a coin surrounded by rumors of an even stranger production error. Some collectors believe it may share a connection with the Philadelphia anomaly, while others think it represents an entirely separate mystery. Either way, the next coin in this series has sparked intense debates among experts, and the clues hidden in its tiny design details might surprise you. So before you spend another dime without looking at it carefully, remember this: the small change in your pocket could be hiding a secret fortune. And if you thought the 2013 P dime was unbelievable, wait until you hear the story of the next coin. Next, 1996 one dime to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? It sounds impossible, almost like a fantasy story collectors tell each other late at night. Yet sometimes history hides unbelievable fortunes in the smallest pieces of metal. Today we're diving into one of the most mysterious modern American coins ever whispered about among collectors, the 1996 P. Roosevelt dime. At first glance, it looks completely ordinary, the same tiny silver-colored coin millions of Americans spent without a second thought during the 1990s. But hidden among those ordinary dimes may exist a version so rare, so unusual, that collectors have estimated its value at an astonishing $96 million under the right conditions. Yes, you heard that right. A single dime potentially worth more than luxury mansions, private jets, or entire companies. And before this video ends, I'll also reveal another mysterious coin from the same year, the 1996 D dime. A piece that has its own shocking story and an even deeper mystery that collectors obsess over. So make sure you stay with me until the very end, because most people never notice the tiny details that separate pocket change from a life-changing discovery. To understand why the 1996 P. Roosevelt dime could reach such mind-blowing value, we need to go back to the year 1996 itself. That year was special for the United States Mint because it marked the 50th anniversary of the Roosevelt Dime series, first introduced in 1946 to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt after his death. By the mid-1990s, the design had already become one of the most familiar coins in circulation, featuring Roosevelt's portrait on the front and the torch, olive branch, and oak branch on the reverse. Billions had been minted over the decades, so naturally most people believed no modern dime could ever become extremely valuable. Yet the Philadelphia Mint, marked with the tiny P Mint mark, produced millions of dimes in 1996, and within that massive production run something unusual may have happened. According to collectors and coin researchers, a microscopic number of experimental strikes may have slipped through the mint's quality control. These coins reportedly show extremely subtle differences: unusual die polishing patterns, microscopic doubling around the lettering, and in a few rumored cases, a striking pressure error that produced incredibly sharp details rarely seen on circulation dimes. These rare variations are so subtle that many people could hold one in their hand and never realize its importance. But when top-tier collectors examine coins under high magnification, these tiny details can transform an ordinary 10-cent coin into a legendary numismatic treasure. Imagine a worker in 1996 receiving a handful of change after buying coffee, unknowingly carrying one of these rare dimes in their pocket. Perhaps it was dropped into a jar, forgotten in a drawer, or mixed into a child's piggy bank. That's exactly how some of the most valuable coins in history were discovered, not in museums or vaults, but in everyday homes. And this is where the legend of the ultra-valuable 1996 P dime begins to capture the imagination of collectors. Stories circulate within coin communities about pristine examples discovered decades later that display extraordinary strike quality combined with rare die characteristics. When a coin combines extreme rarity with near-perfect condition, something graded at the very top of the professional grading scale, its value can explode beyond anything ordinary collectors expect. In theory, a perfect specimen of this rare 1996 P dime variety, preserved flawlessly and confirmed by experts, could ignite a bidding war among elite collectors. That's where the jaw-dropping estimate of $96 million enters the conversation, not as a typical price, but as the kind of extreme valuation collectors whisper about when imagining the absolute best possible example appearing at a historic auction. And here's the fascinating part. Most of these dimes look completely normal. No bright gold color, no unusual size, nothing obviously different at first glance. The secret lies in tiny diagnostic markers, slight doubling in Roosevelt's profile, razor-sharp torch lines on the reverse, and in some rumored specimens, a faint die crack pattern that forms a microscopic signature unique to the earliest experimental strikes. Because these details are nearly invisible to the naked eye, countless valuable coins may have circulated unnoticed for decades. Think about how many jars of coins sit in kitchens, closets, and garages around the world right now. Somewhere among them could be a dime that collectors would treat like buried treasure. This possibility is exactly why coin hunting has exploded in popularity online. People search through rolls from banks, examine old change jars, and inspect inherited collections hoping to find that one coin others overlooked. And believe it or not, history proves that incredible discoveries happen this way. In past decades, collectors have found rare error coins worth thousands, even hundreds of thousands, simply by examining ordinary pocket change. Now imagine the thrill of discovering a coin tied to the mysterious legend of the 1996 P dime. The moment an expert confirms its rare die characteristics and exceptional condition, that tiny 10-cent piece could instantly transform into one of the most talked-about coins in the world. Auction houses thrive on these moments because rarity plus story equals explosive bidding. Wealthy collectors aren't just buying metal, they're buying history, mystery, and the thrill of owning something almost nobody else has. That's exactly why rumors about ultra-rare modern coins spread so quickly. A single authenticated discovery could rewrite the record books overnight. And remember, The vast majority of people would never even look twice at this coin. They would spend it at a vending machine, drop it in a parking meter, or hand it to a cashier without a second thought. That's what makes this story so fascinating. The possibility that extraordinary wealth might hide in something most people consider worthless. So the next time you receive change, especially older coins from the 1990s, it might be worth pausing for a moment and checking the date and mint mark. That tiny letter P beneath Roosevelt's portrait could be the first clue in a much bigger mystery. But don't stop watching yet, because the story doesn't end here. In fact, the next coin from the same year carries its own strange history, and some collectors believe its backstory might be even more shocking than the Philadelphia version. Somewhere out there, hidden in circulation or tucked away in forgotten collections, the 1996 D. Roosevelt dime from the Denver Mint is waiting to surprise the world. And when you hear what makes that coin so intriguing, you might never look at your spare change the same way again. Next, 2012 one dime to my YouTube channel, and let me ask you something that might completely change the way you look at the coins in your pocket forever. What if the tiny dime you receive as change at a gas station or grocery store could secretly be worth millions of dollars? It sounds impossible, almost like a fantasy collectors tell each other. Yet history has proven again and again that the most ordinary-looking coins sometimes hide extraordinary secrets. Today's story begins with a seemingly common American coin, the 2012 P. Roosevelt dime, a coin millions of people have handled without a second thought. But hidden among those ordinary dimes is an ultra-rare version that has stunned collectors and shocked the coin-collecting world. Some experts believe that the right 2012 P dime, with the right characteristics and mint anomalies, could reach an astonishing collector value of nearly $12 million. Yes, a single dime potentially worth more than luxury mansions, exotic cars, and even entire businesses combined. And here's the twist that makes this story even more exciting. Later in this video, we'll also talk about another mysterious dime from the same year, but struck at a different mint, a coin that many collectors believe could be even more surprising. So don't go anywhere, because what you learn today might make you rush to check every coin jar in your house. Now let's travel back to 2012, a year when the United States Mint produced billions of Roosevelt dimes for everyday circulation. Most were made at major mint facilities like Philadelphia and Denver, places where high-speed machines strike coins with incredible precision. The Philadelphia Mint, identified by the small P mint mark, was responsible for producing hundreds of millions of 2012 dimes. These coins featured the familiar portrait of President Franklin D. Roosevelt on the front, a design that has appeared on dimes since 1946, honoring the president who helped found the March of Dimes campaign to fight polio. On the reverse side, the classic torch design, symbolizing liberty, is flanked by olive and oak branches representing peace and strength. To the average person, the 2012 P dime looks completely ordinary. It weighs about 2.27 grams, is composed of copper and nickel layers, and shines with the same silver-colored appearance as any modern dime. Yet within the massive production of these coins, a handful appear to have been struck under extremely unusual conditions. Coin experts believe that a very small number of 2012 P dimes may have been created using experimental planchets, the metal blanks used before a coin is struck. Some of these planchets might have had unusual metallic compositions or microscopic dye variations that caused the coin's details to appear sharper, deeper, or slightly different from normal circulation strikes. At first, these differences were so subtle that hardly anyone noticed. After all, who studies a dime closely when paying for coffee or dropping spare change into a tip jar? But coin collectors are known for their obsessive attention to detail, and eventually a few sharp-eyed hobbyists began noticing something strange. Certain 2012 P dimes displayed an incredibly crisp strike, mirror-like surfaces, and microscopic doubling in the lettering around Roosevelt's portrait. Under magnification, the torch on the reverse seemed unusually defined, as if it had been struck with a prototype die rather than a standard circulation die. Rumors started spreading across collector forums and coin shows. Some speculated that these dimes were accidental test strikes from dies meant for special collector sets. Others believed a short-lived experimental metal mixture might have been used before the mint corrected the process. And then something happened that truly ignited the legend. One of these unusual 2012 P dimes reportedly surfaced in a private collector's collection and was quietly evaluated by experts. When the coin was authenticated and graded in near-perfect condition, whispers in the numismatic community suggested its rarity could rival some of the most famous error coins ever discovered. Imagine the shock of realizing that a coin worth 10 cents in everyday commerce could potentially command millions among elite collectors. Stories like this are what make coin hunting so thrilling. Because somewhere out there, hidden inside jars, drawers, piggy banks, and forgotten pockets, there could still be undiscovered examples waiting to be found. Think about that for a moment. The dime you used yesterday might have passed through dozens of hands, cashiers, drivers, store owners, none of them realizing the tiny piece of metal could represent a life-changing fortune. This is exactly how some of the most legendary coins in history were discovered. Ordinary people stumbled upon them purely by accident. And if you're wondering how collectors identify the rare 2012 P dime variety, the clues often lie in the smallest details. Specialists examine the sharpness of Roosevelt's hair, the spacing of the letters in Liberty, the texture of the torch flames, and even microscopic dime markers invisible to the naked eye. In rare cases, these coins also show unusual luster patterns caused by striking pressure that differs from normal mint production. Combine that with near-perfect preservation, and suddenly the value skyrockets in a territory most people never imagine for a modern coin. Auction houses love stories like this because rarity plus mystery creates enormous demand. Wealthy collectors compete fiercely for coins with unusual origins, and the more mysterious the story, the more valuable the piece can become. That's how a humble dime could reach an estimated value approaching $12 million in the right circumstances. But here's where things get even more intriguing. Not every valuable coin is sitting safely inside a collector's vault. Some are still circulating quietly in the world, blending in with billions of ordinary coins. That means the odds, however small, still exist for someone like you to find one. Maybe in a bankroll of dimes. Maybe in your car's cup holder. Maybe inside an old jar your grandparents kept for decades. And remember earlier when I mentioned another coin from the same year that collectors are starting to talk about more and more? That mysterious sibling to the 2012 P dime comes from a different mint facility, and its story involves an entirely different set of rumors, production quirks, and collector speculation. Some insiders say its origin might involve a rare die pairing that slipped through quality control. Others believe a tiny batch may have been struck during a short production anomaly that lasted only minutes before mint technicians corrected it. I won't reveal the full story just yet, but let's just say when collectors began comparing the Philadelphia version with the Denver minted counterpart, things started getting very interesting. In fact, many experts believe that once the details about that other coin become widely known, the entire conversation about modern dime rarities could change overnight. So while the 2012 P dime already carries a legend capable of turning pocket change into millions, the next coin we'll explore might push the mystery even further. Before we get there, though, take a second and imagine this scenario. Somewhere in America, someone receives a handful of change after buying a snack, tosses it into a jar without looking, and unknowingly places a multi-million-dollar treasure on a shelf. It happens more often than people think. Coins travel through thousands of hands during their lifetime, And the rarest examples sometimes hide in plain sight for years before being discovered. That's the magic of coin collecting: history, mystery, and the thrill that a fortune might be hiding where nobody expects it. And if you thought the story of the 2012 P. Roosevelt dime was unbelievable, just wait until you hear about the next coin from 2012 that has collectors whispering at coin shows and online forums alike, because its story might be even more surprising. Next, 1981 dime to my YouTube channel. Imagine reaching into an old jar filled with forgotten coins, brushing away years of dust, and discovering that one tiny silver-colored piece could be worth more money than most people earn in several lifetimes. It sounds unbelievable, almost like something out of a movie. Yet collectors know that sometimes the smallest coins hide the biggest secrets. The 1980p Roosevelt dime is one of those mysterious pieces that has sparked curiosity, debate, and excitement among coin hunters around the world. At first glance, it looks completely ordinary. The same small dime people used to buy candy or bus fare decades ago. But certain rare versions of this coin have been rumored to reach staggering values. And here's the jaw-dropping part. Some collectors believe that a rare variation of the 1980p Roosevelt dime could command as much as $80 million under the right circumstances. Yes, you heard that correctly. $80 million for a coin most people would barely glance at before dropping it into a vending machine. So before you spend another dime without looking, you might want to listen closely to this story, because the coin hiding in your pocket could be far more powerful than you ever imagined. And stay with me until the very end, because later we're going to talk about another mysterious 1980 dime from a different mint that collectors whisper about in auctions and coin shows. A coin whose story might be even more surprising. But first, let's travel back to the year 1980. The United States was going through a time of change. Inflation was rising, technology was beginning to transform everyday life, and the U.S. Mint was producing billions of coins to keep up with the country's growing economy. Among them were Roosevelt dimes, first introduced in 1946 to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt after his death. By 1980, the dime had already been circulating for more than 3 decades, and the design was familiar to nearly every American. The front of the coin displayed Roosevelt's portrait, while the reverse showed a torch flanked by olive and oak branches, representing liberty, peace, and strength. Most 1980 dimes were produced at the Philadelphia Mint, and these coins carried a small P mint mark, something that had only recently been added to Philadelphia coins starting in 1980. That detail alone makes the 1980p dime historically interesting because it was the first year Philadelphia officially began marking dimes with a mint letter. Billions of these coins were produced, and most of them are still worth exactly 10 cents today. But here's where the story becomes fascinating. Somewhere during the minting process, a handful of coins may have been struck under unusual circumstances. Experts believe that rare dime misalignments, experimental metal compositions, or striking errors could have created extremely unusual examples. Imagine a coin struck with a slightly rotated die, creating a misaligned design that sharp-eyed collectors immediately recognize. Or a dime struck on the wrong metal planchet, perhaps intended for another denomination, giving it a slightly different color or weight. These kinds of mint errors are the holy grail for collectors because they are incredibly rare and impossible to reproduce once the minting process is complete. Over the years, coin hunters searching through bank rolls and pocket change have reported strange variations of the 1980p dime. Some claim to have found examples with dramatic off-center strikes, where part of Roosevelt's portrait nearly disappears off the edge. Others talk about double die errors where the lettering appears slightly doubled, as if the coin's design were echoing itself. In the world of numismatics, even a tiny detail like that can transform a common coin into a treasure worth thousands or even millions. One story that still circulates among collectors involves a retired bank teller who allegedly discovered an unusual 1980p dime, while sorting coins late one evening. At first it looked normal, but the lettering on the coin appeared thicker than usual. After having it examined by specialists, the teller was told it might be one of the most dramatic double-die dimes ever discovered from that year. While the exact details remain debated, stories like this fuel the excitement that keeps collectors searching through jars of coins decades later. The idea that an ordinary dime could hide an extraordinary secret is what makes coin collecting feel like a real-life treasure hunt. Another factor that makes the 1980p dime fascinating is condition. In the world of coin collecting, a tiny difference in condition can mean the difference between a coin worth 10 cents and one worth thousands. Coins graded in near-perfect mint state, especially MS-67 or higher, are incredibly rare because most coins were used in everyday transactions and quickly became scratched or worn. Finding a pristine example that somehow avoided circulation for more than 40 years is like discovering a time capsule. Collectors compete fiercely for these high-grade coins, and auction prices can climb rapidly when a flawless specimen appears. Now imagine combining near-perfect condition with a rare mint error. That is the scenario that creates the possibility, however rare, of astronomical values like the rumored $80 million estimate. While not every 1980p dime is valuable, the possibility that one extraordinary piece exists somewhere keeps the legend alive. And this is why experienced collectors always repeat the same advice. Never ignore your small change. The next time you receive a handful of coins at a store, pause for just a moment and check the dates and mint marks. That tiny glance could reveal something remarkable. People have discovered valuable coins in parking lots, piggy banks, and even couch cushions. History has a strange way of hiding treasures in the most ordinary places. And remember, this is only the beginning of our journey, because there is another coin from the same year that has an even more mysterious story, a dime struck at a different mint that collectors constantly debate and search for. Many people believe they've seen one, but very few can prove it. In fact, some say the next coin's rare versions appeared so unexpectedly that even seasoned numismatists were shocked when the first example surfaced. So keep watching closely, because the next coin in this story, the 1980D Roosevelt dime, might change the way you look at pocket change forever. And if you thought the tale of the Philadelphia dime was surprising, wait until you hear what happened in Denver, because the mystery only gets deeper from here.